So why this election cycle am I getting so many text messages? Is anybody else getting like political text messages?
Oh,
I don't know how my number got out
I'm
there.
getting like 10
but
a day.
Oh yeah, it's
So
so
annoying.
annoying.
I hate it.
Congress voted to allow that years ago, so thanks.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
How do
doesn't.
you like? Is there any way to do away with
People
that?
have anecdotal statements about call this number or do this thing or sign up online. I don't know. I
It
just,
really is
I just
so
tell my
annoying.
phone to block them all, and eventually they start.
You get very few.
Mine
Oh,
goes,
yeah.
Gabrielle gets them all.
mine goes into a separate area.
Thing?
Yeah, mine warns me that it's probably spam. I mark it as
And it
spam.
shows that I got a text message, but then it's not on the,
Oh, we get so many.
it's not here.
Yeah.
It'll tell me. how
You got a
much-
smarter phone.
Does
I don't know.
it go to?
So then I have to,
Because there's
let's see, how many passes.
like I have different messaging apps.
So if I go to unread,
Oh wow.
these are all the,
I bet you have a spam filter put on that auto
yeah,
sorts them to a different like spam inbox or something.
Yeah.
Because you use messages too. Let me see.
Okay.
It's 428.
Yeah, there you go. So if you go to your image, your name,
Right.
spam and blocked,
yeah,
and there's all mine.
Yep.
So yeah, cool. I didn't even know that. Look at that, Carl. Teaching me new stuff.
Yeah, right, I'm such an IT guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know this thing had a camera.
Wait, that's a phone?
Is our candidate here?
He went to,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
What? Yes.
Richard Doucette went to the toilet.
Oh, yes.
good timing, Richard just said.
He's got 1 minute.
He works well under pressure.
So, you know, when I look at this thing in Ashland, like the catastrophe there, that could happen here, couldn't it? If you got 10 inches of rain?
It was more than that. Wasn't it like? It was like 20 something inches of rain, I think.
God. But like if a hurricane came up and then stuck around for a while.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want 20 something inches of rain here. I think we'd have a
No,
lot
I
of
think-
problems.
But,
A lot of our roads would be
Oh,
gone.
I mean,
Yeah, I
theoretically,
mean, we
that
got 6
could
inches of
happen.
rain and it devastated
Right.
slightly, but like
Yeah.
times that by 3, we'd be.
But we're not as
Bad news.
flat as they are.
What?
Down-
No,
as flat
North
as they are.
Carolina is all like it's not
No,
as
it was
tall
up
of
in
mountains.
So I'm thinking
but it's-
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Nashville's up in the
rugged
mountains.
terrain.
Is it?
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a lot like
So-
us, a little more mountainous.
I have some friends in Tennessee that are around really flat
Oh, yeah.
riverbeds, and they got totally
Wiped out,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We have a friend who's still trying to get out,
North Carolina
Yeah.
is completely.
devastated.
I mean, just
Crazy.
there's like towns that are just gone.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
the soil, it's a soil type too. Like
Yeah, it's all
Georgia,
clay.
It's all clay
Oh, right,
underneath, so
So
it's
it hits and runs.
sandy, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might
That's
go, but you
interesting.
get a certain amount of rain and it
Okay.
saturates the ground. And
That was a
Okay,
lot of
we're
rain.
ready to go.
5,
I'm horrible at
4:30.
spelling. I'm the wrong person to ask. I let Google do it all for me.
LAPLE.
it being
Talk.
4:30, I call the select board meeting to order. Make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3 to A session 1.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. We are now non-public at 4:32 p.m.
So how you do it, you don't do it?
No. Okay. Yeah, I just put in as much information as well, and that's your documentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I don't know where that.
Yeah, let's see. I give you your stats, but they're in the mail.
Yeah.
Nothing wasted in your copy.
Okay.
Nice batch.
Thanks.
Is it?
You done?
It matches the color of my eyes.
There you go.
Alright, can you help me?
Oh, sorry.
Cord.
Like
Thank
that.
you.
Like that.
Okay.
I think. Oh,
Yeah.
one more.
Is it a whole new badge or an overlay to your technical badge?
It's a whole new
Wow.
He didn't get it.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and
Yeah.
many agencies do it. I've done it, but many agencies do. Some do actually do like these patches are like pink and seems kind of wild, but
Yeah.
Neat.
6:01.
Make a motion to come out of non-public at 6:01 p.m.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Minutes are not sealed. Moving into
Changes.
changes and additions to the agenda.
Yes. the inclusion of, we need to discuss the inclusion of a reval explanatory letter in the tax bill. And you have to vote on that. We're adding a TSIC update from Richard, and I just got in the DRA MS1, which will be added to the signature file. And you have seen a report from.
Agenda?
Yeah, I had one right there.
Did I steal your agenda?
Do you want to hand that one to
Here.
the next one?
Thank you.
And we're also canceling, Paul Koosman had to cancel his welfare report.
Great.
Okay.
New business. Oh, no, moving on from that.
Oh, that'd be me.
Budget discussion.
Yeah, let's see if I can find my, okay, so, you all received a copy of the first draft of the budget. As you know, it's a moving target, so a few of these numbers might have tweaked since you saw it, but nothing big. And so what I thought I would do this evening is just quickly run through some of the kind of major places of where we are. It looks like, so in my estimation of revenues, which is part of what one does when building the spreadsheet, we're down about 18% in non-property tax revenue. Mostly that's because the fire department has not yet, and I don't think they are, they haven't submitted any large grants this year. So that sort of like takes out a big chunk on both the revenue and expense side. In 2024, we had a big $250,000 use of a bridge capital reserve fund. We only have 175 less, so that's a $75,000 decrease. We will use it in 2025, but it's just a smaller amount because the reserve is down. As a sort of starting point for you all to think about, our unassigned fund balance per the audit, which is about to be signed, we're almost there, we're just waiting for the legal letter. We're at 2.53 million, which is a very strong starting fund balance. It sort of amazes me how it just keeps being a good solid cushion for this town. We voted in 2024 to use $279,000 on certain specific purposes, and I am estimating, I think conservatively, that we're going to have a surplus of around $400,000 this year, which means that we would, at year's end, be at 2.6 million, which would be 20% of DRA of the budget, the total budget, municipal, school, etc. And the DRA, as you know, recommends we be between 5 and 17%. So we have the happy problem of needing to use some of those funds, and as we should. They are taxpayer funds that are in an account, and they should be used. So, having said that, on the expense side, the first number, with all the wish list in it, is at about 5.33 million. Which is about a 1% increase over last year's budget. As you are probably aware, there's a large increase in the school budget this year, and I am not an expert on that at all, but I believe, and I think, we should get clarity on this, but it's an $800,000 net increase to the Tamworth tax rolls. So that's a big number, and so that argues for us to be careful with what we're doing so that we can impact the tax rate as little as possible. The big numbers in the expense line, so it's always, everybody's got their departmental budget, and those kind of go up and down, maybe go down 2%, somebody goes up, so those kind of just fluctuate a little bit. The big, where it really matters is that last page, I think 15. And that's where you see the heavy hits. And those are the things that are listed on the CIP, which will be presented to us soon. But essentially, we have a bridge project that's currently was reported to me to be $350. That may change. That will be half paid for with the remaining capital reserve and half either with unassigned fund balance or raised through taxation. The CIP draft of the CIP, again not formally presented yet, calls for an additional 250,000 deposit into a capital reserve for bridges. So that's in that 5.3 million. I budgeted 120 for the backhoe and compactor for the transfer station. I think we should try and understand whether that will be part of the improvement project or not, because if it is paid for by the improvement, then yay, we don't have to put it in the budget. I think one thing we should mention is that currently, once we get the Depot Road Bridge done, which is that big bridge project I mentioned, we don't have at the moment, it can change any moment in time, any bridges that are red flagged by the state. So that might give us some flexibility to try and save money for the bridges a little more slowly, over time, so that we don't have to hit everybody so hard at once. Transfer station I talked about. Dana's at some point going to talk about a budgeting solution idea. I don't know if that's this evening or not, probably when you do the departmental presentation. And we got a big hit on the ambulance cost. So this is the first year of the new 5-year cycle budget, and it was a $40,000 a year increase, which is about 20%. So that's unfortunate. The other CIP items that are kind of a big hit are cemetery vault repair for 60, a highway vehicle for 65, transfer station I talked about. We need a new server in the basement, that's 11 to 13,000. And in addition to the bridge capital reserve that's recommended in the CIP, the fire department has recommended starting to put in 152 for the next new fire truck, which would be in 2029. Again, these are all things that we need to discuss. I'm just trying to sort of bring them to your attention. The things that I have not got in the budget yet, I haven't received the fire department's budget, so that's coming. I have not gotten the numbers for health insurance yet, so there's no increase for health insurance. Last year it was 15%. No idea what it's going to be this year, but it's never small. So that's another hit. I think those are the two things that are going to, increase. So, the charge is really how do you bring that 5.3 down significantly? It'd be good to find 500,000 there. And it's possible, I think. It's, but that's kind of over the next 4 weeks. That's the challenge, and you've sort of got your first hit at it. Almost every budget has been submitted by every department head and committee and commission, and so it's almost all in there except for healthcare and fire department. Do you have any questions?
Did we, it wasn't a big deal last year, it just took time. When you sent out the message to the department heads and the committee people, did you mention that we would just apply COLA rather than having them
Yes.
randomly assign raises to people?
Very few departments put in their own raises, and it's interesting. Today there was a discussion on the town administrator's, list, and it looks like everybody's going in with the CPI about 3%. That the CPI is going down, so we can put in 3% for now, which is pretty much what I've done. It may be 2.8% by December. I don't know. So there might be a little savings there.
Okay, I'm not so much concerned about the rate, just that the numbers people are sending us for their
They
salaries.
pretty much know I'm gonna do.
Okay,
and
even the committees know that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't change, so if there's stipends, I didn't make any changes. I didn't do a 3% raise on those. And that's something that typically the commissions and committees do on their own. I can remind them all and see if they assumed I was gonna, but like when it's a $600 stipend, the 3% is not a lot. The other thing, so I also put in, FICA is like 6.2%,
Right.
health insurance is 1.5 or 5%. They're those are all automatic, so. except for the police and fire. So yeah, any other, so it's not a terrible starting point, it's only a 1% increase over last year.
That's pretty good.
That's,
Compared
well,
to the percentages we're used to over the last.
Well, and having,
Yeah.
having a
5
big
years.
unassigned fund balance is
it's helpful.
very helpful.
And again, fire and health insurance are not in here, so it might be 2 or 3%, I don't know. But I think there are some big projects that I've included that could be reduced or farmed out over more years, or, you know, whatever. So there's room to work on it with the department heads. So that's the budget update for now. And
Any other questions for the?
I'm gonna start scheduling department heads. I'll reach out to all of them Tuesday morning and get them lined up.
So Keats, the ambulance increase of 20%, is that expected to be the new number moving forward?
Well, what happens is it starts high and it goes down a little
Right.
bit each year.
Okay.
So by the end of the 5 years, I don't know off the top of my head, but it doesn't go up 20% every year, that's for sure.
Right, that's what
Yeah,
I wanted to check.
yeah.
Alright, moving on to the Office of Safety Highway Grant Agreement with Chief Littlefield.
Good evening. Last time I was in, I talked about some grants that I was applying for, and it appears that we have been approved for those grants.
Oh, great.
So it requires the board to agree to the terms of the grant and the amount noted in the grant, and document that in the meeting minutes. I think you have to take a majority vote. And then the chair has to do all the initialing and signing of the documentation. Just to reiterate, this is a reimbursable grant, so we pay out the funds. So we're in the state's fiscal year, now, so they start now. So once that gets signed here, it goes to the AG's office. They sign it, they kick it back to us, and okay us to spend at this point. So we don't necessarily have to spend within our fiscal year, or, I don't have to budget for next year. If I have the funds in this year's budget, we can make the purchases that we need. 2 equipment purchases on there are reimbursed at 75%, so we make up to 25% out of our budget. There's a speed enforcement grant in there, which covers the cost of overtime pay, and the assorted, benefits that go with it, like retirement and Medicare and stuff, at 100% reimbursement. The match on that portion of that grant comes from essentially the use of the cruiser. So we document, if we're going out in a 4-hour block, just doing speed enforcement, we give them what our rate for the cruiser is based on what our normal detail form is, and that applies to the match
Okay.
side of it. So it's really not out of a pocket expense. And those are documented, so they're strict to the enforcement. So let's say I'm out doing a speed enforcement and I get called to some kind of call that's different, a domestic or something, and I get caught up in an arrest. The clock stops when I get called for that, and then once I'm returned back to the speed enforcement grant, the clock starts again, and that's where you're reimbursed. You know what I mean? So if I'm an hour into a 4-hour block and the other 3 hours is caught up on an investigation, that's not what's reimbursed. They want to see the speed
Right.
enforcement, that's what they're paying for. Again, that's 100% reimbursed to the town.
What's the time frame that you have to do that 25%?
October of next year.
Oh, okay.
By October of next year, but you
Yeah.
could start right now.
Yeah, we can start right now.
Yeah.
So-
We kind of went small. I've never done these grants, I've never been a fan of them, but they made some changes that allow salaried employees to do it, and they made the process really easy. They've got all the forms that we submit for reimbursement, so on and so forth. They'll help us fill them out, all that type of stuff. So, and I think they'll be beneficial anyway. I mean, it just sort of sets aside okay, this is what we're doing for 4 hours, and the cost is reimbursed back to the town. So
You need a motion from us tonight?
I do. One of the things he mentioned, I'll bring up, and I guess we don't really have in place, but maybe we think about it in the future. You know, one of the things they mentioned is like, you know, technically you would want like the 75% of that cost to come from a expendable trust account. So when they reimburse it, it comes back, rather than, you know, spending it from my budget where I won't actually see the return back in my budget. It
It'll
looks
go
like
into the general fund.
yeah, and then it looks like an expense off my budget, which only 25% of it is. So, food for thought. I don't think we have that mechanism or a budget.
It's not
or-
exactly an expendable trust, there's another term for it. I can't remember what it is, but we looked into it when Emily started as rec director, because there were money going into the rec department, but it just goes in the general fund, so
Right.
again, it doesn't show up in our budget.
Yeah.
You know, it would be nice to be able to match them up against each other, you sort of, people just feel better about it, but the money still is going into the, you know, the town still gets the money.
Oh, I know at the end of
Doesn't-
the day, it sort of washes out.
Yeah.
For
Budgeting purposes,
Yeah.
looking at what we expended, you know.
Yeah, it's
Unless
gonna
somebody
look like
actually
you
takes
spent
and
more.
says, oh, pulls over the revenue to the side and says, oh, they took in this revenue, blah, 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 you know,
Right.
does the math, but.
Well, I can look into, I know there's a term for it, I'm just forgetting what it is, but I can look into it and see if it makes sense. I think we decided with rec it was maybe more effort than it was worth, but
Yeah.
it might be.
I know other agencies have similar, and they use it for either, they like, I was just talking to a chief today who has one for like equipment, so if they have equipment failures, they have this pool of money that just sort of sits there, and then they draw from it.
That we
you know,
have.
Whatever.
We have expendable trust for town buildings, town equipment, and town infrastructure.
Yeah, and another town does it with their details, so all their detail money comes back
Oh.
into that account.
That's interesting.
And then they take that money and move it to the town, so to speak, for the reimbursement of the employee costs. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not completely up to par on
Yeah.
that system.
That's an option.
Something to think about down the road.
Yeah.
There
So you
does-
wanna spend the money in 2024, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do the equipment, you know, get the equipment purchase right off.
And the reimbursement may come in 24 or 25, we won't know, but that's okay,
Yeah.
because you have the money in.
I think they move pretty quick on it.
Okay.
We just have to provide them the documentation. So it's just a
Somebody-
matter of, I don't know, there is specific language.
Well, I think it's a motion to accept the terms of the grant. I think when we get the money, we accept the unanticipated funds.
But it's-
Well, this is a reimbursement, right? So.
Right, but
Yeah.
if
Oh,
when
yeah,
that
yeah,
comes
yeah.
in, it's still gonna be,
Do you have the language of the motion?
Yeah, I have
Just says, we will need a copy of the certificate of vote showing all required parties voted with signature approval from the town or the chair of board of selectmen, accepting this grant, showing the amount of the grant being awarded.
okay.
So yeah, just a motion to accept the grant and agree to
And
the
it's
terms of the
under, I
grant.
just know it's under $10,000 in case
so,
I'm curious.
oh, there it is,
answered.
yeah,
It's like 90.
Find it?
94, 6, 4.
So I think the motion includes accepting of the type of grant and the amount of money.
Yep. Make a motion to accept the Tamworth Police Department Highway Safety Grant agreement number 25-181 in the amount of $9,464. Grant to be completed by September 30th, 2025.
Second.
I will add, there's one other piece of this grant that I wrote another, or was part of this group of grants, that gets us printers for our cruisers, so we can get on board with the state system of issuing e-citations, which is 100% reimbursed to the town. I don't know the inner workings of the grants office and everything, but essentially, once this is approved, they're gonna write an addendum to add that in, and then we'll probably just have to reapprove it again,
Okay,
that separate amount.
okay.
Any discussion, other discussion? Hearing,
One question though, is anything different happen with the citation funds? They all go to the
They
state?
don't go to the state.
Yeah, okay.
And the penalty assessment fee funds the police academy.
any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Regis, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes. 0 no.
Thanks for
Thank you.
seeking that out.
Yeah.
While I have the floor though, can I just bring up a couple of things? Just real quick, drug take back is on the 26th of this month, which is a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And anybody who has unwanted, expired, or don't need
Did you say
Medicaid?
10 to 2?
10 to 2, yeah. Medications can bring them to the PD lobby and dispose of them. It's a national initiative done twice a year to just basically get those off the street, and they get incinerated down at the state. Just no sharps, no liquids, no battery devices or anything like that. So bring your stuff by and drop it in however you want. You can put it in a grocery bag, tie it up, seal it up, whatever, throw the whole thing in there. And then the other thing is Halloween, working with the groups again to do the Main Street event, which will include us shutting down Main Street for 2 hours during that time. There was asked if we could extend shutting the road down to the townhouse. So
Did we not do that? Oh, does
now
not
we
the
stopped at
Cleveland?
the
Great Hill.
Great Hill
Great,
Road.
yeah.
So it is a little bit of a, it's only 2 hours, but there's a little bit of a quirk we have to work out with Great Hill Road to either like cone a lane in so they can go up Cleveland, or, I don't know, monitor that and go through when needed, but I think it's a great event. It kind of like centralizes the activities, and it's a nice, wonderful community event. It involves multiple groups and organizations.
5 to 7.
No, 6 to 8?
It wasn't, it was 7:30.
Yeah, but like the
The
barn's
barn.
over to 8,
Yeah,
farm barn, or whatever. we
Right.
call it. So yeah, it was like 5 to 7:30, right?
Yeah.
And then, so, yeah, so excuse me, 3 hours. But.
Okay.
So, is it, what's the timing? Do we know?
we
Or
can
will
call
I
it
find
5 to 8, but.
Yeah, I would call it 5 to 8. To be
Okay.
safe. And that was all I had.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Moving on to part-time employee.
So yes, this is a person who has applied for the position at the transfer station. He has had a 4-hour interview working with Brian. And right now Brian wants to hire him in a part-time, non-scheduled way. Well, we used to sort of call per diem, except we don't do per diem anymore. So, part-time, non-scheduled for now. Because
So like on
he's-
call, you mean?
Yeah, basically. He's still interviewing another candidate on Saturday. And then after that, he will be ready to decide who would become a part-time scheduled. But he would like to hire this person so that they could start working on call sooner
So
than
we
later.
have a motion.
Make a motion to hire Stephen Straponi at the transfer station as a part-time on-call employee.
Second.
Do we have,
Sorry. I'll leave it to Steve. I don't know. I
You
don't know.
can do it.
do we have to
Fine.
talk about an hourly rate or in the motion?
Typically what we've been doing is hiring new people at $20 an hour.
At $20 an hour.
Was that set in the discussion between Brian? Do we know what was discussed?
With Steven? No, I don't know, but, that's what we have been hiring people at.
Any other
So
discussion
so
on
that's
that?
gonna just be like the per diem people that we have that aren't called per diem anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and he may quickly, again, I don't know, depends how the other
Yeah.
interview goes, but he may become a regularly scheduled person.
Are we down somebody?
Uh-huh,
Yes,
yeah,
since we
Down
realized.
one of our staff left,
Uh,
and, yeah, so we're down.
You
one
know
person. Yeah.
okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes?
Yes, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Moving on to inclusion in the tax bill of revaluation explanatory letter.
Okay, that's a mouthful, huh? So as you
Did my
know,
best.
you've all hopefully seen and read this letter more times than you want to. And it's basically an explanation of the assessment, the evaluation process, and how that all plays out with the taxes, and setting the tax rate. This letter, Kim feels, and I think you all agree, that this would be a useful letter to go into the tax bill this year. So in order to do that, per RSA 76:11, there's that you have to vote to allow that letter to go into the tax bill.
Okay.
So, you would make a motion to do that.
Make a motion, we include the revaluation explanation letter in the tax bill.
Second.
Any discussion?
One minor modification, the graphics are off on one of the pages with the circles before it goes to print on the last page, if you could get that fixed.
Okay, maybe I can ask you for assistance on that because I struggled with it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Yes, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Moving on to old business.
I'm sorry,
ARPA.
who made the motion?
I did.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business ARPA funding.
Okay,
This is where you fall on your sword.
this is where I fall on my sword. So, in my enthusiasm to get everybody everything they ever wanted, I recommended that we vote to buy a highway truck and a compactor. However, we had already committed those funds. So I apologize for that, and particularly to the road agent and to Rick, who was gonna get a maintenance car, and the transfer station, who was going to get a compactor. We have now put them in the 2025 budget, but you all need to now vote to rescind that vote from last week, or from September 19th. And then I would say, just to affirm, because I could not find the
We
vote.
committed to, we discussed it, but we didn't vote on
We
it.
didn't vote on it, and I spent a lot of time looking for it. So we should vote on the $124,096 to be used to pay for the deposit on the fire truck.
And that's already been.
So the first vote is to rescind
Yeah.
the September 19th vote. And then the second motion would be to dedicate that money to the
Yeah.
fire department's fire truck.
124.96.
I make a motion to rescind the September 19th vote. Do you want the breakdown, the dollar breakdown?
It's
I have
essentially-
it, do we
essentially
need to do it?
All the
Well, it's,
ARPA
It's
funds.
the ARPA funding.
well,
Remaining
because
ARPA
we're
funds.
not rescinding the 6,000 on tools.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
So, I make a motion to rescind the September 19th vote, allocating $70,000 for a new highway truck and $45,000 for a new compactor.
Did you say 45?
Yes?
Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts abstains, 4 yes with 1 abstention. Another
Okay.
motion?
Yeah, now we need another motion to,
Was it because you weren't there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured I would
Okay.
just agree with everybody.
I make a motion that we allocate $124,096 of the remaining ARPA funds to
It's 124,096, right?
to the fire truck deposit.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. And to be clear, I was just abstaining because I wasn't here last week, so
Yeah.
I figured I'd just
Makes sense.
go along with
Consistent,
everybody.
You can't unvote something you didn't vote for.
So we've got that covered. Moving on to the TSIC update with Richard Doucette.
Yes. I would retitle it, I would take the C off. It's not an update of the
Sorry.
committee, but transfer station improvement update. So last month, we took a couple of votes to pursue bathroom and recycling building in Escale. So the project that we contracted with Sanborn Head to do a number of tasks about a year ago, and those tasks obviously have changed. So what Sanborn Head has done is written an amendment to the scope of work, and this is amendment number 1 because we're anticipating a second one, that specifically they have estimated how much it will cost them to design and bid out the bathroom. So this is something we should approve, the engineering services amendment number 1 for Sanborn Head. The total dollar amount to design the bathroom and put together the bid documents and bid it out is $49,300.
And construction management.
Construction management. When we first saw it, we weren't happy with it. We hoped it would be a lot less. Keats and I think Willie was there as well, had a phone call with USDA, who's given us a $500,000 grant. We want to make sure every step along the way that we don't run afoul of them to make sure we can still utilize their funds. And after that meeting, it was accepted that when you get federal funds, some of those go for things you might not necessarily do if you just had your own money. So it's probably a bigger more design cost than we typically would have if we were designing it ourselves, but that's what it costs to do it using the parameters that we have.
Could you just say the amount again?
$49,300. So
And I think we realized to pull it apart and try and bid
Yeah.
there's a lot of different
Yeah.
pieces of work in that contract.
And if
It
we
makes
wanted to
sense.
like start over with new engineering services, that
Yeah.
takes too much time. Took
Yeah.
too much time to do it the first time. We don't want to do that again. The one good piece of news from the USDA is I was concerned about the Buy America provisions, and it turns out there are none. They confirmed that there are no Buy America provisions for this grant. So when it comes to
Even with steel?
construction, there isn't any. So that was a surprise to me.
Which doesn't mean you wouldn't, but it just
Right.
gives you
Yeah.
flexibility.
So they haven't yet put together the second amendment, which is the scope and fee to design the building. So since that thing is bigger than the bathroom, we can assume that it'll be more than $49,300. The good thing is, I think maybe we'll probably save some on the bid documents because they'll have done it once and it's the same package with just a couple of things changed. So the bid document amount comes down, but everything else is probably going to go up because it's bigger than a bathroom.
And one thing that was explained to us several times was that by doing this engineering work in this way, we will save money on not over-engineering the whole platform for the building. So that in the end, you probably save something.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Make a motion to accept the First Amendment for engineering services in the amount of $49,300 for the design and bid plus construction management by Sanborn Head for the transfer station bathroom.
Second.
Discussion.
I also wanted to add that in Keith's recap email in the meeting with the USDA, which I was not a part of, they mentioned that the bathroom has to fall under ADA requirements, not ADA requirements. So that was another positive.
What's the difference?
Architect Barriers Act is that act, and apparently it's more stringent, but not
Then ADA.
than ADA.
However,
It shouldn't be too bad for the bathroom.
the architect that is assigned, that Sanborn Head will be using, has worked with USDA on ABA, and because it's such a small bathroom, there probably isn't really much difference. But it is just a more stringent set of requirements.
And that stringency comes because it's a federal
grant.
funds, yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
I other discussion? I guess my thoughts are that we are in this position where I think it makes sense to use Sanborn Head for the bathroom. We have to because of the grant, but I will be voting no because I think that originally we could have used a different engineering company that would have been cheaper throughout the whole process. So I don't agree with using Sanborn Head for the bathroom because I think we put ourselves in this position where we have to, in a sense, but we shouldn't have had to. So that's just my thought. But anyway, roll call. If there's no other discussion, roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, no. 4 yes, 1 no. Moving on, is that it with the TSIC?
Yep.
Moving on to the administrator report.
Hang on, what's our bank balance? There. Okay, our bank balance is $3,601,734. I have been working on the town administrator hiring process, I have been working on budgeting. Been a busy week in the office with people coming in and asking all kinds of questions that they do.
Sorry. You have to out yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything's moving along. Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Moving on to the signature file. I make a motion to approve meeting minutes September 19th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Just said abstain?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts abstains. 3 yes with 2 abstentions. I make a motion to approve the timber tax yield for map 407 lot 103 in the amount of $71.55.
Second.
Roll call vote.
You said yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts yes, 5 yes, 0 no. We already did the Office of Safety Grant Agreement, right? Yes. I make a motion to approve the driveway permit for map 408 lot 65.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts yes, 5 yes, 0 no. We already did the Sanborn Head bathroom construction. I make a motion to approve the DRA MS1.
Second.
Roll
Wait,
call.
can you just tell me, remind me what MS stands for? I know what the form is, but what does it mean?
I don't know what MS stands for, actually. The MS1 form, MS stands in front of every form, maybe it's municipal, I don't know,
Services or something?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But the MS1 form is the town's property valuation.
okay. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts yes, 5 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the payroll in the amount of $53,893.29.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts yes, 5 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $359,525.38.
Second.
School, $306,000. Ambulance, $16,000. Those are the 2 big ones. Roll call vote.
Do you say yes?
Did we already do that?
No.
No. Yeah, sorry.
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. Sorry, got messed up there. Cash used to date, $8,350,897.05. Wow, tripping over myself. Been here too long. Select board update, Richard.
Only thing I have is from the Energy Committee. If you recall, we approved the submittal of a grant for EV chargers in the parking lot behind this building going to the state of New Hampshire. So that's grinding through some mysterious wheels, and we may hear something by the end of the year, that's unclear. That's an 80% grant, so the Energy Committee went to the Tamworth Foundation for the 20%, and they were awarded the 20%.
Oh, great.
So if the state comes through, then it'll be 100% funded.
And it was a significant amount of money, I think it's like
It was, it's
15,000 or something.
$78,000 total.
Yeah,
The state grant requires 4 charges, even though we weren't thinking 4, we were always thinking 2. They tend to go in pairs. So that's basically why it's so expensive. What the Energy Committee is thinking is if we don't get, if that state grant, which is the state going to the federal government, if they don't get it, then the Energy Committee would go back to the Tamworth Foundation and say, can we use the money anyway, build something smaller and just use that as 100% funding for it. So that's
Do the 4 have to go all in the same place?
certainly in the same grant.
But I mean,
think
could,
so.
could
I
you
don't-
put 2 in that parking
don't.
lot, 1 at the
The
Chicago Library
the
or
cost would
something?
go up,
Oh, okay.
because it's, most of it is,
The
Infrastructure.
electrical,
cabling,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's it.
Let's see, I went to the sewer commissioners meeting, and they are still trying to get, their application for new permit is in, and just a slow process down there in Concord. They got a list of questions which they answered, and then not too much later, they got the same set of questions. So, anyway, there's no reason they won't get the new permit, and at which point they can allocate some surplus capacity to some sorely needed customers.
How do they decide, like, how they give out if there is surplus, how they give that out? I mean, is it?
That is entirely up to the commission.
They don't have a process.
They have developed a process.
Okay.
I mean, they've
Is there like
developed.
an application or something?
Well, the application is set, but they have determined a set of criteria to follow to see who is most worthy of the,
So some kind of rubric
yeah,
that they,
of the
yeah.
gallons that they have.
Interesting.
You know, whether it's a more service to the town to grant it here rather than there, and they have a list that they go through to
Yep.
grade it.
Just.
So,
When property changes hands, does that entity lose their allocation or does it stay with them? I'm thinking about the Lyceum, which is for sale.
it would probably stay with them, because it's based on, right now it's based on state
Okay.
estimates of use,
Mhm.
and that doesn't change unless there's a change of use.
Right.
That makes sense.
So
and then they have to file a change of
then they
use.
have to file a change of use application, and yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Lyceum.
Yes,
I'm
it will.
assuming they probably would want no more if they could get it, if some kind of place, if a business there that sold food, wanted
Yeah.
to relocate.
Well, they have a commercial kitchen, and so they're being assessed
Mm-hmm.
for that, even though they're not using it currently because they don't have a grease trap, so they can't use it until they install a grease trap. Anyway, the one interesting point that had never been really made clear until now is that when the town essentially bought the sewer system for $1, those previous to that, there were restrictions on the deeds of everybody who was connected to the system. That if you sold your property, the new owner had to remain attached to the system and pay the fee. Well, all of those agreements were voided at the time of
Oh,
sale.
the sale, really?
Yeah, so any contracts that were in place with the
Huh.
Tamworth Village Association don't apply to contracts with the town, so that might be,
That might be good in some respects,
Might be
because
good.
somebody could get off the system and put their own
I
septic
could
system.
potentially get off the system.
Yeah, and create surplus.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
incentivize.
Anything else?
That's it.
Did some work emails back and forth with transfer station, chatted with Brian both weeks at the transfer station, working through some logistics there, getting ready for the bathroom and things like that. Had a few meetings with some townsfolk, talk about ongoing things in town, but otherwise it was a pretty light 2 weeks.
We had planning board last week, and planning board has drafted a letter that will get mailed out to everybody in town that tries to articulate what the rules are that we do have, especially the subdivision rules, because I didn't realize this until we started having these conversations, that subdivision is not just about going through the process of physically separating your land into multiple lots, one lot into multiple lots. It's also about the use on a single lot that could be transferred in the future to separate owners. So anyway, that letter's been drafted and that's gonna come out, just so everybody kind of knows what they're doing, so nobody inadvertently runs afoul of the regulations, which would be messy for individuals and for the town. The planning board is also gonna invite Ed, the groundwater compliance officer, to come in, because he hasn't been before the planning board yet, even though they drafted the groundwater ordinance. So they just wanna meet him and ask him how it's going, you know, out of curiosity, to see the follow-up with the ordinance that they drafted. We just advertised for up to 5 alternates for the planning board. We had 2 alternates and one ran for an open seat last spring. And one just got seated for the rest of Greg Hufford's term because he moved to Vermont. So we don't have any alternates right now. And if you don't have a quorum, you can't conduct any of the official business without the alternates. So, and we also advertised for 1 Lakes Region Planning Commissioner or alternate to the commission. Same thing, you need a quorum for business. And I've also been in touch with the Traffic Safety Committee that we appointed, just to make sure that they're on the right track, that they're actually following the charter that we approved, and understand that there's a pretty tight boundary around what they've been authorized to do, because there's been some confusion with that group. Hopefully that confusion is alleviated and they'll be working on what we asked them to do. Their next meeting is the 21st. That's it.
Well, I've had 4 weeks to think about this. I missed my last CIP meeting due to work. Didn't get back into town until it was much too late. I missed my last meeting because Volvo Construction Equipment offered to take me on vacation for a couple days, and I wasn't gonna say no to that. So, other than that, I haven't really been dealing with a lot of town stuff, and I will be looking forward to the next week's, now that we're back on every week. So, budget season.
Woohoo!
Yippee.
Yippee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it for me. Moving on to public input. Is there any public input?
I'm excited to hear about the EV chargers. That's good news.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jim, for stepping into that role to be a seated member of the planning board.
Happy to do my part.
Is there any other public input? Hearing none. Are we still going into that?
We need one,
There's 2 non-publics.
oh,
We only need one.
We're
only
gonna,
need
we're,
one.
yeah,
Okay.
we're-
So, is it?
So session 2. and it
It's
is,
A still. So I make a motion, hearing no other non-public, hearing no other public input.
But are we crossing off section 3?
yeah,
Yep. I make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3 2A, session 2 at 6:53.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
There, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. We are now non-public at 6:53 PM.
Wait, that's the graph.
If you need me to go on your next world travel adventure in your stead, let me know.
Okay.
We'll just stand and miss another meeting.
I want your itineraries, just like,
7:08. No big trips.
I make a motion to come out of
We'll be at lunch
non-public
next year.
at 7:08 PM. Minutes are not sealed.
Second.
it's not cooperating.
Roll call vote.
Doucette, yes?
There, yes?
Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 5 yes, 0 no. We are now out of non-public at 7:08 PM. Motion to adjourn.